Hi, my name's Jane Stoltze. I'm the Bariatric Nutrition Coach. Jumping on today to talk 5 ways to track your progress after weight loss surgery. And this is really, I suppose it's a great topic because it kind of asks people to expand their mind. Actually, how else can I track my progress other than the scales? And that's where most people really focus on. I'm just going to keep revisiting the topic because people are reminding people of the topic because people jump in at all different stages. And I'm referring to my notes. Now, this is appropriate for anyone at any stage after weight loss surgery. Sometimes I do topics that are very much appropriate for the early stage or for the later stage. But this is great. We've got some people really early on after your weight loss surgery. Most people I work with don't come to bariatric surgery that was the first thing that they tried to lose weight. As you've dieted, you've tried everything you can, and your relationship with your body and the scales is not always great. I have so many people I work with that really have a hard relationship with the scales, and it's not positive, and it can really affect how people feel about their progress. That's one really good reason why we can look at different ways of tracking our progress after weight loss surgery that aren't the scales. And also, there are limitations with the scales. The scales are only one fraction of how we can assess our progress, okay? There's limitations. It's a basic measurement, and it doesn't take into a lot of different things. Fluid. It doesn't take into, as I see people getting more active after their weight loss surgery and some of that muscle, they start building some muscle, some lean body mass. So there are limitations with the scale. We're looking at 5 different ways that you can track your progress after weight loss surgery that are not the scales. So when I work with clients in my program, in my boot camp, this is a topic we talk about. How do you feel about getting on the scales? How do you feel if they don't give you the number you want? Does it really affect you? Does it affect you in the heart? Does it really knock you about and make you question what you're doing? And that's a really good thing to ask yourself. Like, how some people can still, after the weight loss surgery, get on, they're not that attached to it, they're okay, and we can use the scales, and that's really good. Some people say, honestly, if I didn't have to go on the scales again, I wouldn't. And I say, well, let's look at that. Let's look at a way of us being kinder to ourselves as we track our progress after weight loss surgery. Now, this is really challenging because when you go into a bariatric centre, they ask you to hop on the scales. A good bariatric centre will let people, and I've let people, step on backwards. They don't actually have to know the number if they don't want to. But I'm going to go through 5 ways to track your progress other than the scale. 1, body measurements. I do encourage people to do body measurements, and I know some people do, and then sometimes we can forget. But keeping some good body measurements can be really a wonderful reminder later on in your journey. Not only can you do it regularly, like once a month, not too often. Some people even get somebody else to do it, which is great because it takes away, maybe means it's a bit more accurate, or if you're comfortable to do that. I had a client that her friend was a dressmaker, and she would come over regularly and do her measurements, which I thought was really cute. Her friend knew how to do her body measurements. But doing those regularly can be really great and really beneficial because they can help also later in the journey where you think, I haven't lost much. And there's the topic of, or the body dysmorphia, when you don't always, notice the difference. And sometimes having some things like photos, concrete, some things that are concrete that really show you. So body measurements. Number 2 is, and you'll know about this, clothing and the fit of your clothes. And that's a really powerful visual. So some people do use their clothes and do use, certain things like that's another one. Number 3, and I really love number 3, it's pathology and health measures. And some people can really have got more that they can use because they've come into surgery maybe pre-diabetic or, with certain levels in their blood levels, and they can really use those as well. Energy and pain levels is number 4. And that's a really empowering one for a lot of people when, it's painful to move, painful on the joints, and all of those things. Energy and pain levels. And sometimes it can be really good to once a month, maybe if this is something that your energy and your pain levels are a key thing for you, to give yourself a score out of 10. Because we can forget in a year's time how far you've come. And if you have a score out of 10 for maybe joint pain and about energy levels, how you're feeling, then you can use that and you can have a look at the trend over time. Number 4 is energy and pain levels. Number 5 is mobility and fitness. And I love it when people say, Jane, my clients, I went for a trek or I went for a walk or I did something on the weekend and I will never have been able to do that before. And I really love that because most of the clients I work with are mums, and I find it a wonderfully motivating and fulfilling, at the heart level when women can see themselves doing more with their kids, or it's easier to do more with their children, or they can go out and get their kids active as well, or whether it's grandparents as well, fathers, but mobility and fit. So really keeping an eye on that. Just recap, 5 ways to track your progress other than the scales. Body measurements. 2, clothing and fitting of your clothes. 3, pathology and health outcomes. 4, energy and pain levels. And 5, mobility and fitness. And I want to just recap on the reasons why we do not have to have a lifelong journey of jumping on and off the scales if you do not want to. And for some people, it really is not a healthy, nurturing way. And I always tap my heart. It doesn't make them feel good. Because guess what? When you get to your goal weight and long term, it is very normal for your weight to go up and down a bit. Very normal. And what happens when it goes up? People can get really upset, feel like they've done something wrong, and it's not the case. The scales are limited, and they're not always an empowering way for us to measure or track ourselves. I find sometimes people will say that in the first couple of weeks when people are still on fluids, and some people can get through, for example, quite an amount of soup, and they think, I haven't got restriction, what's happening? Later on, if people are on to solid foods, I explore several things with them, like obviously explore how much they're eating, 2 months. So you're on solid foods. I explore how much. I explore what level of sensation you have in your body for what hunger and fullness. And there's quite a few things that I do with people if they report that. Okay. Generally, I don't give amounts of food, like portions of food. I teach people how to eat after their weight loss surgery. That is not only for the short term, but for the long term. And it's part of my foundation weight loss surgery eating habits. And when we do it that way, we don't actually have to portion our food up or measure it, like give yourself this amount of food on the plate, this amount. We want to use our body to give us feedback. Occasionally, yes, people don't have good feedback from the body, and that's where we can do a little bit more of that portioning, and we give a bit more of portion on the plate and use external measures to help us manage our intake. But it's a big topic, and it's something I explore with people from different angles, and we see what comes out of that, because after weight loss surgery, your sensations aren't always the same as before surgery. Your hunger and fullness, how that feels, and the level. And I say to people, your body's not going to always be yelling at you like in a loud voice. It's often going to be whispering. Some people need help to learn how to quiet everything down and hear the whispers of their body saying, that's enough, thank you, or I need to eat. But that does evolve over time, and we can get better at it. I'm not saying that that's for you necessarily. I'm saying that there are different things that I talk to and work with people on if they say, Jane, I haven't got restriction. Some people want to have more tools to measure their progress, and body composition scales can be really useful, okay? And some surgeries have them, some gyms have them. There's different levels of accuracy in the body composition scales. And they're the scales that you hop on and tell you how much muscle you've got in your body, how much adipose tissue, fat tissue, how much fluid, okay? And they can be useful to use over time. Nice if you're on one that's nice and, accurate, because they can show what's happening with your adipose tissue and your muscle. Because what happens over a period, especially like that first 12 months when I see it, people lose quite a bit more weight. They do lose a bit of muscle as well, but they start feeling better, exercise is more enjoyable, people start doing more. Some of that muscle comes back, and muscle weighs more than fat. We take that into account. Scales that people have at their home, there's limitations to them. They don't tell you the body composition. If you have access to body composition scales, that can be really useful, and it can be something that you, overarching topic of how you track your progress after weight loss surgery. You know, one of my passions with my clients is to move out of a dieting mindset, move out of calorie counting, getting on the scales every day, and being highly monitoring to, and moving out of that, I've done well or I'm not doing well, good and bad, and moving to being more listening to the body, practicing eating and lifestyle habits, and trusting food and trusting the body more. This discussion fits into part of that, my philosophy, and part of how I work with clients, okay? Do we want to self-monitor? And I call it relaxed self-monitoring after weight loss surgery. Yes, we do, but we want to do it in a way that suits us, suits our heart, suits us to be able to do long-term. If you'd like to know more about how I work with clients, if you'd like this half-minute program video, and in that video I talk more about the topics that I work with clients on in my program, the Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp. Alternatively, you can send me a DM, you can send me a message. Thanks so much everyone for joining, and I hope you have a lovely day.